It is Green Teamers episode 2. It is the flagship home of your 3-0 defending NBA champion Boston Celtics. My name is James Stewart. His name is James Scaramozzino.
You got it.
Okay, I'm 2 for 2 on this. And again, it might be the only time that I do it is in the introduction because I don't want to butcher it too many times. So we'll go from there. And yes, by the way, I am ripping off a variation of that open from Jared Carabas, who is a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. That's my homage to him. He does Section 10. He's one of my near and dear friends. So I'll be doing we're trying to like navigate this thing. I'll probably steal a few more things from Jared because he does such an outstanding job on the baseball side of things with Section 10 for Underdog Fantasy. And maybe we'll talk to Coley Mick. Coley's a Celtics guy and he's got a podcast too. I like Coley. I don't know if Coley likes our station, but we'll give him the forum there. Skaz, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jay Stu. A 3-0 start for the Celtics. That's pretty much all you could ask for at this point. Yeah, we'll dive into maybe some of the things that got a little ugly in one of the games. But yeah, 3-0, Mazzulla ball still firing away, still working. Tatum and Brown off to an incredible start. So I'm doing great, Jay Stu. How you doing?
I am wonderful. We've got banner night thoughts. We've got a quick thought about the Washington game. I have a deep dive on the Pistons game. And I'm going to tell you why it was an exciting game. And I'm going to give you my X's and O's. I know I mock them on the football side, but on the basketball side, I will nerd out to them all the time. And I'll tell you why that comeback was important for the Celtics, other than it's like, oh, it's Detroit. They could, yeah, I would be pissed if they lost to Detroit. Absolutely. But I'll tell you why there are positives to come out of that close game for Detroit. I've got some Joe Mazzulla love coming. I've got my Jason Tatum stat line on the MVP candidacy of him and where he ranks. We've got some Bucks and Pacers thoughts. Skaz, I want to start with you. I want your opening night thoughts.
Yeah, obviously I wasn't in the building like yourself, but from my perspective, it seemed like everything was just done perfectly. I mean, we got the incredible drone video from the Celtics media team that continues to be probably the best in all of sports right now. You got to see the banner raising there better than you did on TV for a lot of people. I know some people were upset about that, but yeah, it's always great to see guys like Max get recognized. Obviously, Kuzi was there. That's Tatum even talked about how cool that was that he got to get a picture with Bob Cousy on a banner night. So as a Celtics fan, those are the nights you dream about. That's everything you can hope for as a fan. Two guys drafted by the team finally get to see a banner they earned get raised at the Garden. So I thought banner night was tremendously well done. What was the vibe like being in the building for banner night?
It was a super horned up crowd. It was an exciting crowd. I felt like it got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm kind of exhausted right now. I need to breathe a little bit. And the Celtics pace and going for the 3-point record, it kept everybody involved in the game, even though it was, I think the Celtics were up as many as 30 at one point. As far as the game it goes, they won by Celtics. The Celtics won over the Knicks by 23. They were up as many as 30 points. And the key to it was still the Celtics defense. I know that they were going for the 3-point record and the open shots and so on and so on. But this was the key point from the game, and then I'll give you a thought on the banner ceremony because I gotta give some context to my rant on Felger and Maz that happened in real time, and I want to share that with the audience because I just think it's the right thing to do. The Celtics are leading 88-60, and they're still pressuring on defense at this time. It was Jaylen Brown who got an 8-second violation on, I think it was Jalen Brunson, and the defense is really where the Celtics are really winning these games. And they have 5 who can defend at any time. They go probably 6, 7, 8 deep as far as those who can shoot on the team. And while they're not going to blow everybody out all the time, they did come out firing in games 1 and 2, and they made statements. The opener, they had 3 turnovers. And that is the key. You play hard defense. You don't turn the ball over. You're going to win. Now, should they have won by 30 or more? Yes. Did the basketball gods humble them for not playing the game the right way and missing the last 13 3-point attempts And yes, that hurt their percentage, and they only won by 23. But like, don't mess with the basketball gods. Make the right play, and you will be more times than not rewarded for it. And that's just kind of like how I felt about the actual game. Is they did a lot of things right, but at the end they did some things wrong, and that's what they need to focus and improve on, and they did throughout games 2 and 3. So banner night, you gotta wait for that one. So banner night, I was in the midst of ranting because I felt like that Wick used his forum of banner night to yell at the national media who didn't pick them, to yell specifically at the Felger and Maz show for, always being on the negative side of things. And this is kind of like a little like trick in radio, right? It's because I know I do this. I wrote an article last year that I still get crap from, and rightfully so, by the way, that essentially in the first like sentence or two, I say the Celtics should win 60 and the title. If they don't, here's why: they could win like 45 games on the season. I own that. That's what I wrote. And I went through, like, they had a tough schedule. The 3-point shots don't fall. However, I detailed it down. It's why I don't write anymore, by the way. It's one of many reasons. One, I'm not good at it. But two, it's so that I don't get blot in written form. I can get blot on the talk show, but that's so I felt like that was an attack on like Kendrick Perkins, who always picked against them, even though he kind of didn't, but he did. There were some hypocrisies with Perk. I love Perk. But for context that I was given from somebody with the Celtics, I'm mid rant on Felger and Maz, and my phone buzzes from someone in the Celtics, which was great, real time humor. I totally get why you feel that way. I'm going to paraphrase the text. I totally get why you feel that way. It didn't have anything to do with you guys, and probably not even the national media. It took this ownership group 16 years to get a second one. And when you come so close and miss, like we have the last few years, it feels that much better when you get there. That's the interpretation of Wick's speech from this particular member of the Celtics organization.
So Wick was blind. He had his chance to blot everyone that kind of poo pooed the Celtics, didn't pick them. I mean, we've gone over the hot takes from the national media last year numerous times, but yeah, so good for Wick, I guess. I mean, obviously he's going through the whole thing with the sale, and it was his dad's team, and I'm sure he's really bothered by that. So Wick gets to have the night when we say he was spending the money, it was his dad's money, but Wick was the guy that was writing the checks at the time, anyways. So I think Wick did deserve to have his night and blah a little bit, but with the sale of the team, everything is skewed now.
Absolutely, it is. And by the way, to be clear, like Wick's a good front man for the ownership group. He's tremendous. He'll get in there and he'll fight with people. He'll push back. Like, he's not overly sensitive where he's calling people and saying, "Oh, don't say this," or like, he's great at that. He's an excellent representative for the Celtics ownership group. I did talk to fans though who felt like Wick has catfished them. It is a handful of them, but overall they say Wick's a great owner, but they feel kind of manipulated a little bit. And that's not just me. That's people that I talk to, season ticket holders who I talk to in and around the Garden. So that's the perspective that I want to give to the Wick speech. I thought the 7-minute video that they played in the building was outstanding. The ceremony was great. Pags was so amped up in pulling the string up that they had to slow him down, which, we all love Pags and his enthusiasm. I love it too. Everybody got a great ovation. I thought Tatum closing by saying, "Hey, let's do this again." Perfect. The ring, Skaz, is a coffee table. This ring I am obsessed with. And not only because it's the size of it might be the size of my water bottle, for crying out loud. You open the thing up, and if you tap your phone to it, it gives you videos of the championship season, or videos of the last game, or whatever. I have been obsessed with this ring. I know people who haven't gotten theirs yet, who I'm friends with, and I can't wait to borrow it for like 5 minutes and just play with it. Like, and not in the sense of where Robert Kraft had his ring stolen, but in the sense of like just holding it. Like I remember getting Zolak's ring and just being like, this thing's a coffee table. This thing is like bigger than a coffee table. This might be a Thanksgiving table. That's how massive this ring is. And here's a quick story on the ring. The ring designer was the person who designed the Lakers ring. And it was the Lakers owner, Jeannie Buss, who called Wick and said, this is the person who should be doing your ring. And so that made the ring designer, and I can't think of the designer's name right now. I could look it up. I'm choosing not to. It's out there. And actually, I have the grid. Because I have one of these little grid things. I got this at opening night. And Jay Stu might end up with a ring, by the way.
I would love that. I love that.
It's Jason of BH. So I think the BH is Beverly Hills. So Jason of Beverly Hills is who designed the ring. He's a Lakers fan. But he really wanted to do the championship ring because he's really good at it. So Jeannie Buss advocated to Wick and the Celtics, like, this is the guy who should be doing your ring. And the ring company was like, are you sure you want us as Lakers fans and who did the Lakers ring to do the Celtics ring? And Jeannie Buss was like, yep, absolutely. Do the ring. And it's spectacular. It's outstanding. So
yeah, that's a good little note there. I had no idea. I mean, obviously Celtics Lakers on the court, big rivalry, but apparently the owners, helping them out a little bit. So yeah, I think the rings are incredible, and sometimes nowadays the rings are so big that they become gaudy and kind of too much at times. I thought they did a really good job with everything on the ring has meaning. The series numbers are in there. There's a piece of the parquet in there. So just a really, really well done job.
I'm obsessed with the thing. Like I can't wait to get my hands on one. Like I'm totally nerding out. And Mazzulla, of course, in classic Joe Mazzulla fashion, is like, I can't wear the thing. The banner's more impressive. I'm like, okay, good, Joe.
Yeah, and apparently Al Horford sized his ring when his finger was swollen in the playoffs,
Yep.
so his doesn't even fit either. So they'll find good use for him. I'm not too worried.
No, I'm not either. But it's fun. Like I said, I'm obsessed with it. So the Knicks. Celtics demolish the Knicks. Game 2, my only kind of thought on Game 2, Skaz, is Peyton Pritchard, again, going for the half-court shot. And yes, it didn't count, but it's such a great play. And it's like a next level like detail where I know Doncic isn't afraid of taking the end of quarter, half court, three-quarter court shot because he doesn't care about his shooting percentage really. But what it's doing is, and the G League is starting to try this out, it's take the shot. If you miss it, we're not going to count it. But if you hit it, we're going to count it. And that encourages more shots in the game, more momentum shifts, all that things. It's like the compromise for the ghost runner in Major League Baseball. So the ghost runner is on second base in extra innings in the regular season. If he scores, it doesn't count as an earned run against the pitcher on the mound. It's a nice little compromise because I want to see more shots like that. I like seeing plays like that. I like that Peyton Pritchard has like a specific role beyond being the backup point guard or the 6th or 7th guy off the bench. Like he's got a design play in there. And that design play helps shift momentum in the Celtics championship. So maybe other teams can pick up on it.
Yeah, and it was something in the playoffs too, where in the playoffs, close games, every possession matters. We were seeing guys at the end of quarters, end of halves, not taking those shots. And just as a basketball fan, it was frustrating at times just seeing these guys eat those possessions, eat those opportunities. So I know the G League has introduced that rule where it doesn't count if you miss at the end of quarters, end of half. So I'm fine with that if what the NBA has to do to make the players shoot that. But in my opinion, they should be shooting it regardless.
So that's my only thing from Washington. Anything else with relation to Washington from you, Skaz?
Yeah, well, you mentioned there the Peyton Pritchard thing and how that's an advantage for the Celtics. Just very quickly, I want to go back to the Knicks, and then I'll go to Washington. But
Sure.
I think on on opening night, one of the big advantages you saw from the Celtics is their team chemistry. They're facing the new look Knicks. They're facing a new Philadelphia 76ers team this year. The Celtics came out of the gates flying on opening night. They know exactly what they want to do on a nightly basis. Mazzulla has the killer whale mentality drilled into them. Everyone has a role. Everyone knows exactly where to be, what to do. And the Knicks, it's going to take them some time to figure it out. I know they, beat the Pacers recently, and they've started to look better. The Pacers struggling. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I think the Celtics chemistry is just another advantage. These, in the NBA, elite talent wins out. The Celtics have the most elite talent. But when those shots aren't falling, little advantages like a Peyton Pritchard or just knowing where guys are going to be and what they're going to do are going to pay massive dividends for the Celtics as the season goes on. So great win on opening night. Glad the ceremony didn't get them too jazzed up. And that leads right into my takeaway with Washington is there was no letdown. This team in the past, 2 years ago, even sometimes at the beginning of last year, one of the biggest criticisms was that they would play down to bad teams. They would blow leads to bad teams. And coming off a championship night where you blow out who's supposed to be the second best team in the East, I thought that was a really good sign that they were locked in and took care of business against what is a not very good Washington team.
Yep. My favorite play from the Washington game beyond the Pritchard shot that didn't count was Tatum just breaking the ankles of the number 2 pick in the draft. It's tremendous.
Yes. It was a welcome to the league moment for Mr. Sarr there.
Made me giggle. So game 3 against Detroit. This one I have a ton of thoughts on, Skaz. So I want to start with you because once I get rolling on my nerding out on X's and O's, I might not stop for 10 minutes. So let's get your high spots in from the Detroit game.
All right,
we'll go from there.
I'll give you my high spots first.
Sure.
Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter. He hadn't played a fourth quarter. I know it was only 2 games, but he hadn't played in the fourth quarter. And Jason Tatum showed up when they needed him most, scoring at the end of that game. Something that he's been criticized for in the past. They needed it. I want to give Detroit some credit because Jaylen Brown had comments in the offseason where he literally said in an interview that when we play teams like Detroit, we're going to run our offense through Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. And that's just disrespect. I mean, obviously, Jaylen Brown has every right to say that, but these guys get paid too. These guys are NBA players on the Pistons. I expected them to come out and give a real effort, and that's what they did to the Celtics. Cade Cunningham is a legit player. He's very good. The Pistons obviously still far away, but guys remember stuff like that. So for Jaylen to say that, the game to be close and the Celtics, coming away with a win, all good signs. But yes, I have a quite a few negatives from this game as well. So whenever you're ready to get into those, I'm ready as well.
So Detroit was very physical in this basketball game. The Celtics admitted a post game. So that's a red flag for the Celtics right there, is that a team that's younger than them was very physical with them. The Celtics blew a 23-point first half lead, right? But I think the key to this, and I didn't love Jason Tatum playing iso ball at the end, because what they did before that was, I thought, outstanding examples of Mazzulla ball. And if I could bring out the telestrator and draw it up on the video platform and roll the tape and not get in trouble for it, I would do it. So I'm going to try to describe this as best I can. So there's about 4 minutes to go in the game. The Celtics are down 112 to 106 to Detroit. The Celtics get a defensive stop. They push the ball up. They get the ball to Tatum. Horford comes out to screen and create a switch that not only gets Tatum a better matchup, but it creates a better matchup for Horford. Now, here's the next layer. Tatum goes over the top to Horford, who should be the tallest person amongst the Pistons that would be in the paint, because their tallest defender is now on Tatum. If that doesn't match up height-wise, I apologize, and it kind of ruins a little bit of the take, but work with me on this. So Tatum goes over the top to Horford. 4 Pistons collapse on Horford in the paint. Horford's not even looking for a layup here. He's looking because he knows that layup is going to be contested. So in Horford's mind, he has 3 Pistons around him, and he passes out to Derek White, who then passes it to Holiday for a corner three. And Holiday is the best corner three guy in the NBA right now. Splash. The logic is Horford thinking open three created a 3-on-1 advantage as opposed to being in a 1-on-3 deficit going for a layup, a contested layup. And
Mazzulla
that's the
ball.
mindset of getting the open 3-point shot. So Holiday hits the three. Celtics are now down 112 to 109 with about 3:30 to go in the game. After a defensive stop, no, it was a Tobias Harris missed. Let me reset because now I'm stumbling. I went through speech therapy for a lot of years in my life, so I get going a little bit. So I got to stop and breathe. And all right, next possession. This is why I take copious notes, because if I start reading, I'm okay. Still learning here at 43. Next possession. Tobias Harris, who I love, misses a lightly contested three. Celtics get the rebound and run. Outlet to Holiday to Brown. Brown cuts up the Detroit defender, but rather than go for a 3-on-1 or a 1-on-3 contested layup, he kicks back out to Horford, swing to Tatum, swing to a wide open Holiday for another wide open three. Now, the Celtics have tied the game with under 3 minutes to go, and they've done it with wide open shots, not contested layups. This is Mazzulla ball. This is why he had that back and forth with Washburn last season about, well, how many contested layups did we have? And here's the key to it, I think. In both those cases, the Detroit defense is scrambling, and that's because of the Celtics ball movement. And they're thinking about the least contested 3-point shot. That, to me, as a basketball nerd, is entertaining. And it's a very different mindset that the Celtics have. And it started with the Warriors doing the 3-point thing and all of their motion and running around. And now the Celtics have, to a degree, perfected it. And here's the third layer to this. With about 2:22 left in the game, the score is tied at 112. And the Celtics are all spread out as Derek White is bringing up the basketball. The action is Horford moving out to the 3-point line from the free throw line and Tatum cutting towards the rim. There are no Pistons in the passing lane, and Tatum has the defender fronted with no chance to reach in without drawing a foul, and he can't contest the layup because if he goes to, Tatum just ducks underneath and does what he actually ended up doing, was going up for the layup with the right hand, and the Celtics are now up 114 to 112 with 2:18 to go. And you had Holiday and White with amazing defensive plays. But those are the three examples from the end of that Detroit game of saying how the Celtics mindset is just, it's vastly different than what we are used to.
Yeah, it's math. It's Mazzulla ball. Open threes, worth more points. That's what they're seeking. That's what they're looking for. And I'm really glad you focused on Horford in that, because he was not good against Washington. He struggled against Washington. And I think a lot of Celtics fans, we worry about Al. He's been absolutely incredible, but age is what it is. It's undefeated. It's tough at his age. I don't think we're going to see him. Obviously Xavier Tillman's here for a reason, to give Al a lighter load, but he bounced back in Detroit, made some huge plays like you mentioned. So I thought that was a nice part of the Detroit win. And Drew Holiday, I know he hit some big shots later in that game, but he made some really un-Drew Holiday-like plays. It was in the fourth quarter. I think the Celtics might have been either down 4 or up 4, but he went help side on Cade when he shouldn't have. That cost the Celtics a basket. So it's early season stuff. Drew Holiday's not going to be making those mistakes later in the year. Stuff like that will work itself out. But the difference between the Celtics last year, this Celtics team, this iteration, as opposed to the Marcus Smart, Grant Williams iteration in years past, is they lose that game in years past. They blow leads and they don't close it out. They don't come back. They're more resilient now. They have more self-belief now. Last year, they were the best team in the league at holding on to fourth quarter leads. They had the fewest blown leads in the league. I know, by the way they're treated in the media, you might not believe that, but yes, the Celtics had the fewest blown leads in the NBA last year. So just another notch on their belt, more experienced, you take care of business. This was something with the 08 team struggled with a little bit, was playing down to competition. And if you're going to be one of those elite teams, you have to bury the bad teams.
The other negative, I didn't love Tatum's ISO balls at the end of the game, and he got bailed out on a foul call, and he
Uh,
made the free throws, and it kind of annoyed me that Scal's like, Tatum's really controlling this basketball game.
yeah. So
Didn't agree with that.
yeah. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I had this in my notes as well. Is Tatum against Detroit had 37, 4, and 2. I believe he had 0 assists at halftime. And that's just, if that's Jaylen Brown, I'm more than okay with it, because that's more of Jaylen Brown's game. Jason Tatum needs to be a facilitator for the Celtics. It doesn't need to be his primary thing. Score first, be efficient though. If Tatum's assists are down, the Celtics play worse. Last year, the Celtics they averaged 27 assists per game, and they were 14th in the league. Through 3 games this year, they averaged 24 a game and are 22nd in the league. So as a team, there's been a little bit more ISO ball in general. I think, that will get worked out, but it's hard to pick negatives with the Celtics right now. So assists, Tatum needs to find that. Obviously, he had 10 opening night against the Knicks, but Tatum needs to have more than 2 assists against the Detroit Pistons. I think that's who he is. That's what we should expect. And he knows that as well.
And you are correct. Tatum had 0 assists at halftime. And in the original email that I had sent yesterday, I have like the Jason Tatum MVP thing, because this is going to be my thing now, is watching Tatum's numbers. And I think when I sent the email yesterday, Tatum was, this was before the Detroit game, it was 31, 8 rebounds, 8 assists per game, which is MVP level. Now he's at 33 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. And these are all rough
And
estimates. They're not point whatever. And
and
that's still an MVP stat line,
and
but
I should
8
add
and 8 is the important thing. The
I
8
should add
rebounds, the 8 assists.
that's on 55% shooting as well, those Tatum
Yep.
numbers.
Yep. And also for those who look at the player impact estimate, which is Pi Dakota.
Yeah.
Love Dakota, by the way. Jason Tatum is 4th amongst players who play more than 28 minutes per night. Because you get these people who play 15, and it's like, no, you don't count. Sorry, buddy, healed. You don't count. The players behind him, the players in front of him, Holmgren, Trae Young, Anthony Davis. Behind him, Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Luka, Sabonis. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9th. But Tatum is 4th in the precious Pi rating. And I just think that a 30, 38 and 8, 36 and 6, those are MVP numbers.
I mean, if we're pumping Jason Tatum's tires, then I'll follow suit with some stats I had as well. He's the first player in the play-by-play era to have 67 points and 13 threes through the first 3 games of the season, and he's the 8th player in NBA history to average 33, 6, and 6 through 3 games, and he's only the 2nd forward ever to do it. The only other forward that's ever done it is Kevin Durant. So that's pretty good company to be in.
But he got bailed out on the foul call, and it was Hardaway Jr., I think it was. But he started playing ISO ball, and that's not how this team is built.
No.
Joe Mazzulla love, the Joe Mazzulla love moment. So this is something that I started tracking probably the late end of Joe Mazzulla's first year in the NBA as a coach, and it's open and wide open 3-point shots. So open is 4 to 6 feet, closest defender. Wide open is 6 feet, no defender, closest defender, right? So they're number 1. Last season, I think they were number 1 in open and number 5 in wide open. The season before, they were 1 and 3. So split the difference. They're top 3. So the Celtics in the postseason, playing 19 games, were 3rd in wide open behind the Pacers and Mavs, and number 1 with 50 more than the Mavs. And the coaching staff is preaching defense. And when they get that 3-point shot, and especially an open one, they're going to get back quicker on defense. But the math about the open 3-point shot is the best shot for the Celtics. This is what I was detailing about the Detroit game. These are the best shots for the Celtics. So right now on wide open threes, they are 5th in the NBA. They're 31 of 62, which is 50%. And that fifth is the number of attempts. But they're shooting 50% on wide open threes. On open threes, which is the 4 to 6 feet closest defender, they're number one. They're shooting 42%, which is 30 of 71. So this is Mazzulla ball. This is the best shot. And I bet if I looked at contested 2-point attempts, you might have a different story here. But the other thing is that what big am I feeding in the paint to the Celtics? Like I just described a play with Jason Tatum where he's cutting to the lane and there's no defender in sight. And the defender that is on him has no chance unless he follows him. So how do you want them to play? 617-779-0985.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's Missoula ball works. I mean, I don't get the people that say it's boring, it's not interesting. I'm not of that belief. I think the Celtics are more than interesting. I love watching them play basketball. I don't think it's too many threes. I get the complaint, but if you're watching the game, what they're doing has purpose. Everything they're doing has purpose. Joe Mazzulla has driven it into them. You take this many threes, you'll get easier looks at the rim. We talked about it last week, but Tatum's post up percentage was up. The mid game is up. His 3-pointer attempts were down. I think that's obviously going to be different this season with the way he's shooting it, but there is a method to the madness. And obviously there is madness with Joe Mazzulla, but it works. What they're doing works, and it's because of the guys on the roster. Give credit to Stevens, give credit to Wick. They've built the perfect roster to play Mazzulla ball. I think there are a lot of teams out there. You watch the Knicks on opening night, or you watch the Timberwolves at times, the Nuggets even now missing some pieces, where teams want to play a certain style and they don't have the guys to do it. They don't have the right pieces in place to play exactly how that coach wants to play. And the Celtics have constructed their roster to what Joe Mazzulla wants to do, and they excel at it.
And that's the key, is that they have 3 and D guys. And that's the important part, is that they can do everything. That's the week in my notes. Skaz, do you have anything in your notes that you want to get to before we do the Celtics look ahead, which needs a sponsorship, which we'd love a sponsorship for?
No, honestly, I think we covered just about all through the first 3 games. 3-0, not a lot to complain about. Obviously, still some small miscues, but yeah, I got some notes on the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Hornets, and I'm ready to go.
It's they host the Bucks on Monday night, they being the Celtics, pronouns pal. Wednesday is at Indiana, and then Friday and Saturday are both at Charlotte, which is weird.
I know one man that's very happy about that.
Oh, Cedric Maxwell, of course.
That would be Max.
Back-to-back home games for Max. So that's so the Bucks have Doc Rivers. I've ranted about Doc Rivers. The Bucks will never win with Doc Rivers as their head coach, because they'll be up 3-1 in a playoff series and they'll lose it. Doc's a great. No, I don't want to do the Doc Rivers rant. So, Skaz, if you want to do the Bucks, go right ahead. Tell me why the Bucks are going to lose.
Yeah, I'll tell you why the Bucks are going to lose, because they're playing right now in Brooklyn, Jay Stu. They are currently playing a game in Brooklyn. They're traveling to Boston afterwards, and they play the best team in the league in Boston on Monday night. I think that's a very tough spot for the Bucks, especially, Dame seems to be banged up. Obviously, you come into the season healthy, but at his age, the minutes, he just didn't look like the same Dame we're used to last year. I know he's done some talking that he still believes he is the same Dame. I guess we'll see as the season goes on. But yeah, the Bucks are the Bucks. We know what they are. They didn't do anything in the offseason, really. So I don't feel any different about the Bucks. It's all about Giannis. Can Giannis carry them? And I think the Celtics talent is just too much. Can Giannis carry them to a first-round playoff victory, maybe second round? Sure. But after that, I think the Celtics are too much for a team like the Bucks. Brook Lopez, still a great piece. Obviously, local guy Connaughton over there. They have some players, but the overall talent of the Celtics, I just don't think Milwaukee can keep pace.
Yeah. And they have Doc Rivers. My Indiana Pacers, because I'm the only one who believes that the Celtics' greatest challenge coming out of the East is the Pacers. And I know you're going to be like, oh, but the Celtics swept them. Well, there are 15 to 20 possessions that could have had the Celtics in a game 7 against the Pacers, right? And we can relitigate that all we want to. But I'll tell you what, the Pacers are a fun team because they're constantly moving. They're well coached. But Tyrese Halliburton has to come out of the gates a little bit better. And this is why the Celtics will be 5-0 after Wednesday night, and they beat the Pacers in Indiana. Do you know how obnoxious that is, by the way, just saying that sentence?
I mean, you're probably not wrong though. That's the thing with these Celtics is you
But
expect them to win every night.
Halliburton against the Knicks. This stat line is unbelievable. Minus 23. He's 0 of 8 from the field. He's 0 of 7 from 3. He's not having a great, did not have a great game against the Knicks. Now, you're going to be like, yeah, but Jay Stu, what about the Philly game today? Well, yeah, the Pacers lost in overtime. And yes, they got to overtime because Halliburton hit a 3-pointer. That was a terrible shot. Just an absolute terrible shot. But he also missed the first free throw. So game goes to overtime. It's a back and forth overtime game. He had a bad turnover late. He fumbled the basketball that ended up with a corner 3 that missed. But the key point in the game actually was he gets fouled. I think it was Caleb Martin who fouled him when they were up 2, not 3. Because the play before it, Philadelphia had fouled the Pacers up 3. Because on the foul, you can only shoot 2 free throws. This is something we saw Joe Mazzulla do last year, where he fouled. What game was it? He fouled somebody when the Celtics were up 6. And everybody's like, why would you do it there? Well, because in Joe Mazzulla's mind, it's a 2-possession game, not a 3-possession game, right? So Philly screws it up and they foul Halliburton in a 2-point game, not a 3-point game. Halliburton gets to the line, clanks the free throw. Now he has to miss. He misses, and it's over. And Maxey went off for 45. But Halliburton's got to get his act together for the Pacers to be an actual threat to the Celtics. Because if he doesn't have it, then they got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Mathurin play okay in the playoffs. Obviously, Andrew Nembhard was incredible against the Celtics in the
He's
playoffs.
their number 2. He's their real number 2.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Another just great pick by Indiana. I believe he was drafted there. But they run, and that's something that the Celtics try and do to other teams. So it's pace against pace. The Pacers do it just about as well as anybody in the league. Rick Carlisle's been doing it for a long time. He's very good at it. And so yeah, do I think the Celtics win on Wednesday night? Yes, but if they were to lose to either the Bucks or the Pacers, I would say it would be the Pacers of those two teams right now. I know Halliburton's been struggling, and you mentioned his shooting, also his assist numbers. That's like his bread and butter. His assist numbers have been down as well. So just a slow start for Indiana, but that's just another small thing where the Celtics are the defending champs, and they have come out on this revenge tour. You would think the Knicks would come out like this, or the Pacers, who lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Celtics, would have this vengeance or come out, on fire like this, hoping to redeem themselves. But no, it is the loaded defending champion Boston Celtics who are taking no mercy this year, it seems.
Nor should they. And then you've got back-to-back in Charlotte. You're welcome, Max. Not that I had anything to do with the schedule. My only thought on Charlotte is I love LaMelo Ball, who doesn't get talked about like Lonzo Ball did. And that's kind of a crime, and that's probably because he's in Charlotte. But in 3 games, he's 37-7. Those are MVP numbers on a team that doesn't have a chance. But if he's on a good team that has a chance, he gets MVP votes. And I enjoy LaMelo Ball. He's a 6'7" point guard, which, chef's kiss, right? Although now your star player in most teams is your point guard, at least at the end of the game. But like LaMelo Ball needs a better fate than being stuck in Charlotte. And that's
Yeah.
my only thought on the Bobcats, not the Bobcats. They're the Hornets again.
Yeah, the only problem with LaMelo Ball is he doesn't play a lick of defense, really.
Well,
It comes and goes. He chooses when he
yeah,
wants to play defense.
yeah.
I like LaMelo a lot too. One of the funnest players in the league to watch, just from a pure aesthetic point of view. You never know what he's going to do. I don't think he knows what he's
No,
going
he
to do
doesn't.
half the time. Another high pick down there, Brandon Miller, a guy with unlimited talent, but it's questionable things off the court. So Charlotte has their hands full down there, and a guy to watch if you're like, the Celtics are going to blow out the Hornets on Friday and Saturday. The 6th pick in the draft this past year, Tijan Salon, was drafted by them. Another, I believe he's French. Another one of these French guys, 6'9", can play the 3, can play the 4. I think he's only 19. So just this wave of young players that are 6'9" wing guys. He's a 3-and-D guy as well. At least that's what they're hoping he will become. But 19 years old, a guy that should be in the league for a long time. Very raw, but has all the tools if he can put them together. So yeah, I mean, it's great start to the week, Bucks Pacers, but back to back against the Hornets. I don't know how riled up fans are going to be for that on Friday and Saturday, but there's a few things to watch there, and obviously Celtics fans are going to be pining for a Grant Williams on back to back nights
Oh
as well.
gosh, Grant
Yeah.
Williams. Oh,
Sure, we'll get some sound bites from that.
that guy. I hope so. My last thought, my closing thought is thoughts and prayers to JJ Redick. I hope that he's gotten his broken in basketball. I understand how difficult it must be having LeBron James and Anthony Davis and being your first year coaching and having a brand new out of the box basketball that isn't broken in and taking press conference time and energy to make sure that the league knows that you're upset that the basketball wasn't broken in. The basketballs were fresh out of the box. So I hope JJ Redick does well. I hope that he's going to be okay because it's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking when you hear something like that from a coach. And West Coast coaches, by the way, I heard Steve Kerr say this too, because he said something about the Warriors being the deepest he's ever coached and how he plans to play 12 players in 48 minutes.
He played 11 in the first quarter the other night.
And so, like, I'm so glad that Steve Kerr has figured out how to use a bench because in the Olympics, he had a problem getting Jason Tatum, who's a first team All NBAer,
3 times.
into a 40-minute game. But he can manage to get 11 players into a 12-minute quarter and try to get 12 into a 48-minute game. So I understand West Coast coaches right now in Redick and Steve Kerr are making adjustments and they're having a difficult time doing so. So, just thoughts and prayers to them.
Yeah, and I didn't know we were doing this, but I'll happily pile right on JJ Redick. Also, I feel bad for him because I didn't realize they were the first team in NBA history to play a road preseason game. That was shocking to me when he basically held a press conference to complain that the Lakers had to go to Milwaukee in the preseason. Even though if JJ Redick did, I don't know, talk to anyone in the organization, the Lakers agreed to do a home and away with the Bucks over the last 2 years in the preseason. But JJ Redick has a problem. First team in NBA history ever have to travel during the preseason. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with JJ as well. I hope he can turn it around out there.
The thing is that I have a high appreciation for JJ Redick's X's and O's. His personality blows.
Yeah, he
His
wants
his
you to know how smart he is.
his communication skills kind of blow. Skaz, that's it for me. I don't know if you got anything else.
No, that was we did mention off the top we want to try and keep these a little shorter, so I think I'm still working on that a little bit, but yeah, I think this is pretty much what you're going to get on a weekly basis. Little preview of the week that just happened, upcoming schedule, what's going on, and then just kind of our overall thoughts on the state of the team at the time.
I've been cursed with verbal diarrhea and I overshare, so that's a me problem that I have to figure out. Until next Sunday, where we might be live, we'll see.
Yeah.
This is Skaz, Jay Stu for Skaz, and happy green teaming this week as the Celtics try to stay undefeated until the next time we talk to you.